Hey, what's going on guys, this is 5 Large Fries. Now today we're going to be going over some new information for Sea of Thieves. Admittedly, I'm a little bit slow to getting this information out, but we're going to go over it anyway because I want to talk about some things that are really exciting me for this game, which is coming out in less than 2 weeks. We got 13 days and I cannot wait. And of course, there is also going to be one final beta coming out, which we haven't got an exact date. But today, the actual beta client, the closed beta or the scale test, whichever one you were in, the client was updated. So if you're on PC, it's about like a 20-something gig patch, about 12 or 16. I don't know what it is on the Xbox One X, but it's about 8 gig update for the normal Xbox, something like that. So a big patch, which means more content that we can get our hands on before the game comes out. And if it is this weekend, you can be sure that I'm going to be streaming it, I'm going to be making content on it, and all that kind of shit. Now, obviously, it goes without saying, big spoiler warning here, so if you don't want any of the gameplay mechanics and things like that spoiled for you, I would definitely tune off now. You've had your warning, let's get into it. Now, the first thing that really excites me about this game is the Skeleton Fort raids. Now, you've probably seen in some of the trailers this giant smoke cloud that looks like a skull with the glowing green eyes. Now, this will indicate that there is a fort nearby that has a outpost skeleton boss. Now, what's interesting here is that the outpost, the fort, whatever you want to call it, is going to be swarmed with these very powerful skeletons. And once you've killed the outpost skeleton boss, he's going to drop a key that players can then pick up, fight over, and things like that to unlock the vault in the fort to get all the treasure and haul that back and get a lot of gold, which is pretty cool. So this is really going to entice the PvP aspect of the game. So for people who are looking at getting into a lot of action, going towards these skeleton forts, and especially with the giant cloud that appears for everyone, so everyone can see that, especially at a very large distance, it's going to be exciting. It's going to definitely entice that PvP, which I know a lot of people really enjoy about this game. A couple more really interesting mechanics here is the death in the game will be punishing, but it won't be too frustrating or discouraging, which is pretty cool. They say here that you're not going to lose any of the gold that you've earned, anything that you've purchased, your voyages and your reputation when you die, so you're not going to lose anything like that. I think what it will work like is how the closed beta, the scale tests and things like that have been, where you die, you respawn on your ship, but if your ship sinks, then it obviously respawns back at an outpost, and anything that you had on the ship, so for example your cargo, your treasure and things like that, end up going to the sea, so then the people who sank you can go and take them for themselves. I think that's a really cool mechanic, and it really ties in well with the whole being frustrating but not discouraging. So I think that's cool. And of course, the other thing is that there are no safe zones. And it says here, not even if Reddit really wants them. So I think that's really cool, because going to an outpost and seeing an enemy crew there, it's really interesting to go there and take their loot and be able to kill them before they're able to turn it in. And I think that's part of the allure to this game. I think that is something that I really like. I know a lot of people say, oh well, oh no, I need a safe zone. It's like, no, you don't. The game would get so boring so quickly if there were safe zones. A couple of interesting things about the world. The first thing here is the closed beta map size is going to be the size of the launch map. This doesn't concern me too much because the size of the closed beta map was pretty big anyway. But they do say that they're going to add new things, so they're going to probably expand the size of the map as the game continues to grow. And of course, they're going to look at increasing the numbers of ships in the world as well, which I think is pretty cool. The other thing that they've said here as well is that new islands can appear in the sea. These islands can be destroyed, and what's on the islands will change over time too, which I think is pretty cool. The other thing here is they say that they might end up doing things like curses in the game. So it says here something like a curse might get released and change the world, which is very interesting because there is so much potential that you could do with things like that. So the one thing that has me a little bit frustrated is the character customization that you get at the very beginning of the game. Whereas other games give you the stereotypical sliders where you can adjust, say, skin tone, your nose shape and things like that, Sea of Thieves does none of that. Instead, what they do is they give you a wheel of 8 randomly generated characters to choose from. They call it the Infinite Pirate Generator. And you can re-roll these as much as you like to find one that really suits your kind of wants and needs for what you think a good pirate would look like. But once you've chosen a pirate, it then becomes bound to your Microsoft account and you can't re-roll it again. Now, the idea behind this is cool. So, like, the technology behind generating an infinite amount of different characters is very interesting, and the technology is incredible. And I like what they have with the concept where no two pirates will look exactly the same. But I am a little bit upset because I do like to make that representation of myself, kind of personify a little bit myself in video games when they give you these options, and not being able to do so is a little bit annoying. But I do understand where they're coming from, so instead of spending God knows how long it will take for me to create a character, I'm now unfortunately going to be spending even longer to try and find a randomly generated character that looks slightly like me. Now, they will say that there is going to be, you can change things like the hairstyles, beards, peg legs, hooks and all that kind of stuff. The other reasoning behind it is that it allowed them to create different pieces of clothing and things like that that would fit on all body types in the game, because they integrated it with the Infinite Pirate Generator and things like that. I don't know the technology behind it, but it's pretty cool that even if you have, say, a hook for a hand or a peg for a leg, a certain piece of clothing isn't going to be locked out to you because you need both legs there, or like both arms there, for example, or both hands. You know, it's hooks for hands. But I think that's really cool, so that if I liked a piece of gear, I can just go ahead and equip that. I think that's amazing. So I am frustrated, but at the same time, I think it's cool. Now, the last couple of things I want to talk about is 1, events, and 2, a certain mythological creature that everybody wants in this game. Big spoiler alert, it definitely is in the game at launch. So, talking about events first and foremost, is you have these timed events that are going to be a regular thing from the start, so from launch and going onwards. There's going to be these fun and limited time quests that will give you an exclusive rewards. They also say that these quests and events are going to follow the Sea of Thieves lore, so I think that's pretty cool. It will be interesting to see what they have done with the Sea of Thieves lore. Now, they have listed a couple of possibilities for small events, for example, increasing the frequency of sharks for a day, adding more vicious storms, or raising the tides temporarily. I think that's pretty interesting, being able to raise the tides and stuff like that from their end. And of course, I did mention that there would be a mythological creature at launch. Of course, this is the Kraken. It is something that players are really excited for, and myself included. What's interesting about this is that each encounter that you have with the Kraken will be different every time, thanks to the sheer scale and complexity of it. What's also cool is that it can attack multiple ships at once. It can pick players up, it can ingest them, it can slam them into the water, dunk them into the water, throw them across the map, wrap your ship up, punch holes into your ship, rock your ship, and of course spray ink because it is a giant ass squid. It's really interesting as well that this isn't going to be something that's triggered by players. Say, for example, like in, I think it was Battlefield 4, you had the Megalodon where you had to have like 10 players or something like that, all sat in the water at the same time. This isn't going to be the case with the Kraken. It is going to be a random world encounter, which I think is really, really cool. What's also interesting here is that there will also be special rewards for killing the Kraken. So if you're able to kill the Kraken, you're going to get a special reward. I think that is amazing. Imagine having like a figurehead for the front of your ship that says, hey, I've killed the Kraken. I think that is amazing. But that is it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. Also subscribe if you are new. It would definitely help me out so much. But until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next video.